Kia ora, talofa lava, maloelele. I'm Therese Ireland. I'm the National Manager of the Generator. Welcome. I'm going to hand over to Reisiari, who is the Pacifica lead for the Generator, to start with a karakia.
Let us pray. E o tō mafi o ma tuku whamaro ki a whion, o mai whanga maari e koni, ke mawhakataha mai, o e General Rights, o ma ai National Team, o ma a Agnes, o ne whai ai presentation i a honi. Ma koratu ke whakaawa ha mau atamai, ke mau ai ako koni, ke whakalere i ake mau businessi, ke tukoni ake community. Ma kore katoa ngai mea, ma sisu kalais. Amen.
Amen. Kia ora. Before we get started, we just thought we'd very quickly give you a rundown for those who are new to the Generator, just so you know who we are and what we do, very quickly. Just a couple of slides that we'll just explain to you. The Generator is a process that's designed for sole traders for self-employment. And who it's for, it is a Ministry of Social Development program, which is delivered for those who have community services cards. And it is delivered by Ka Puta Ka Ora, Emerge Aotearoa. We are the Generator team that you see here. We have one away today, Alison, who unfortunately can't be here due to illness. We are guided by a number of key values that determine how we work and where we work with people. But ultimately, it's anyone who has a community services card who has a business idea that they would like to start. We help them develop it into a sustainable small business. And we provide ongoing support, one-on-one support, and we're with you for life. So if you need support along any parts of your journey, we're there to help. We are very proud of the fact that we have helped over 2,000, nearly 2,200 people into their Pākahi. We have distributed 4.2 million to mainly Māori and Pacifica, and most of the people that come through are female and most are parents of school-aged children. We are also very proud of the fact that we can demonstrate there is a strong return on investment for the government and a very strong survival rate, which we put down to the fact that we form a relationship with you, an ongoing relationship, and we check in. Even if you were funded in 2019, we still keep in contact with you. You can come back and get some help if you'd like to from us as well. I'll now hand over to June.
Thank you, Therese. So the Generator is a scaffolded process. So whenever somebody begins at the Generator, they have to start off at the trial phase. So this stage, these 5 stages to complete. So register, come onto a welcome Zoom with the team so we can share more about the Generator and how the process works. And we also share feedback about your business idea, and then also for you to complete a Shaping the Dream template, which is a business plan and costings to see how much your products will be costing and expenses and how much profit you will make. You will also be needing to see a financial mentor to complete your personal budget and a plan. And then we also get you onto the dashboard where you complete the proposal and upload what you need the quotes, what you need the funding for, which is the quotes that you're going to upload. And then there are success steps to complete. There are 3 for the trial phase, and they're all the same. And you just need to upload evidence that you've completed them. And then we invite you to Zoom with us because it means that you're ready to receive funding. So the point of doing all these stages is for you to start a foundation so that you can trial out your idea and receive up to $2,000 for the trial phase. We have another funding, which is the response phase. There is a criteria for that. We do need to see evidence that you have trialed out your idea by sales, being able to see sales through like Henry, MYB or Xero, and also that you have shown evidence that you've actioned the plan that the financial mentor did with you in the trial phase for your personal budget. And there's other things that needs to be completed there as well for the response phase. And then the last one is ongoing innovation. This is for those who have completed the trial and the response, and it's to take your business to the next level, and that's up to $5,000. So the Generator is a national program, so we're throughout the country. And the model that we use is a tuakana model. which is on the right. You'll see some of our tuakanas here who have initially come through the program as a Generate, and they received the same support that you're receiving or about to receive from the generator, received funding. And so their role is to support Generates in their region, in their community, to help them to go through the process. And this is the national team on the left, our expert coaches, and our tuakanas on the right. As you will also be introduced to our financial expert coaches, particularly in the response phase. From time to time, we may link you up with them in the trial phase.
Kia ora, thank you, June. June Ngātai Papali'i is the national lead, so everybody meets June on their journey, no matter who you are or where you come from. Thank you, June. It was with great pleasure that we now hand over to Nanise, and I'll let her do her own introduction and get started without further ado.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I'm just looking for where I can share my screen now. There we go. Kia ora koutou katoa, and welcome. Malo le soifua maua malilangi mama. My name is Nanise, and I am the founder of Startline. We are, can you hear me? Can I just check? Yeah, fabulous. And is everybody seeing my screen now?
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, and welcome, and thank you so much, guys, for that overview.
Nanise, can we just remind people to mute, because there's some people we can still hear background noise. So if you can just mute until you come to talk.
Yep, that sounds good. If you're not on mute, it means that some people might not hear the presentation. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. While I'm talking, I won't be seeing you because I'll be seeing my screen. So if you need to say something to me, just say it over the microphone. That would be great. That's for the organising team, and we'll have a time for questions for the whole crew a little later on in the presentation. So just a bit about me and a little bit about Startline as well. Startline has been around for about a year now, but for myself, my own business background has been in a few different areas, primarily marketing. So it's really lovely to be able to come in today and share some of my, hopefully there are you through the day. Startline itself works with businesses in their first 0 to 3 years to help them build strong foundations. So it may be that after you pass through the process of working with the generator, or even potentially during it, you get to connect with me in different ways. Startline helps people build really strong foundations in their business. And the reason for that is that the race of business is really long, and we aim to be in it for a long time when we start a business. We don't do it lightly, most people. And so it's really important that you have your foundations in place before you start the journey, which is why it's just so fabulous to hear about the process of the generator. I mean, how wonderful to be held through that first few stages of your business to get it up and off the ground. So our session today is, we're going quite deep, and so I apologize in advance for how much you're going to hear my voice. That's necessary, so hopefully it's not going to be too much for you by the time we get to the end of our hour. However, we've got lots to cover, and so our presentation today is on digital marketing and brand storytelling. And what we're going to cover are, we're going to start with some high-level concepts, and just to help you understand the difference between branding, how you form brand identity, how you can build your brand. We're going to cover off what marketing is and what digital marketing is, and how those two things interplay. Then we're going to look at 5 things that you can do as an early stage business to set yourself up for success in your marketing and brand storytelling. From there, we're going to move on to how to write a great brand story, and we're going to do that by illustrating it through a use case with a business called Move with Maya that I'll introduce you to a little bit later on. So with that being said, let's get into it. was going to be at the start. So there I am, if you can't see me. And this is actually my son who works with me, and he does a lot of the digital storytelling. He's a drone operator and a content creator. So I'm very lucky to have him with me. And I have 3 other boys as well. So I'm a mama of boys. Yeah, which if there's any parents in here, you'll know what that's like, trying to balance business and your family at the same time. I would really love to hear what kind of business do you want to run, or do people want to run? So if you could pop that into the chat, and I'll have a look at that as I'm presenting. So no wrong answers. If you are at the very beginning of your business, you haven't started, that doesn't matter. Just pop in the chat the type of business that you want to run. I'll just see if I can pop back and forth through it. Yes, that's good. Awesome. So I've got some comments coming in: communications, consulting, nutrition and exercise prescription for those with chronic health conditions, handcraft business. Wow. Natural perfume. Oh, so many amazing businesses here. Natural perfume and herbal remedy, waste management, yard management, African clothing. Amazing. So many things. A cake business. I think I know some of these lovely people who are in the room as well. Welcome. Okay, fantastic. So let's start with the question, what is brand? This old guy down here in the bottom corner, his name is Marty Newmeyer, and he's one of my favorite marketing experts. He wrote 3 books that I think are really worth reading if you're into reading and learning about marketing. One of them is called The Branding Gap, and the other was called Zag and the Brand Flip. I use his definition because I think it's the widest definition that there is about branding. And what he says is the brand is a customer's gut feeling about a company, a product, or a service. And so what we should be thinking about when thinking about brand is that a brand is what people feel. And I just asked somebody, whoever that was with that beautiful noise, to mute if they can, please. A brand is what people feel before they even stop to analyze why. So, for example, when people think about McDonald's, they're not just thinking about the burgers. They're thinking about all of the things together: the golden arches, the colors, the smells, the speed of the service, the packaging. They might have some very specific memories from their childhood. And all of those things together build a gut feeling about the brand. And so to illustrate this, I'm going to show you some brand marks now. And I'd like for you guys to just chuck some words into the chat about how you feel when you see these brand marks. All right, so here we go. Here's the first one. I'm not going to tell you the name of the company. I'm just going to show you the brand mark. And then into the chat, you're going to write the feeling that you get when you see that brand mark. Ta-da. There's the first one. Look at some of these comments. Happy, nostalgia, wokeness, movies, kids, childhood, happy feeling. That is amazing. So again, there's no wrong answers here. Whatever you are seeing, and already we're starting to see how a brand is related to how we feel, and how a brand is the gut feeling that people get when they think about it. And so it's not always positive. There will be times when you think of a brand that maybe makes you feel a different kind of a way than they hope that you feel about that brand. So the next one, let's do it again. This is a less well-known brand, so let's see if people have a feeling when I put that one up. Looks like coffee. Okay, I wonder if there are people in the chat who actually know what it is. It's a fairly common chic fashion. Okay, there's definitely some people in the chat who know what it is. Clothing, beauty, stylish. Okay, yeah, fantastic. Fashion, great. So obviously this one before was Disney. And it's amazing that just through a brand mark in itself, this company has been able to elicit gut feelings from us the minute that we look at that brand. This one here is actually a small Pacifica Māori, I think, owned brand called Allies. And I'm really impressed with the fact that there are people in the chat that seem to know that brand already, because they're fairly early stage, which means to me, it signals to me that they're doing some really awesome marketing already. Okay, now here's the last one. Pop some thoughts in the chat. Okay, I can hear one person giggling. If you could mute. Power. Ugh. Somebody said ugh. Gross. Futuristic. So this is a really cool example of the way that a brand is not for everybody. Tesla, which is the name of the company, if you hadn't picked that up, lots of people have picked that up already. Tesla is for a particular type of person. They know this, and they pitch all of their marketing toward the type of person that they think will buy their vehicle. And there are a lot of the market who don't like their vehicles. And so when they see that brand mark, there's an immediate feeling. But their marketing strategy will be based around the fact that they can talk to the people who really want their vehicle, and that they're not really minding too much about the rest of us who maybe don't like their vehicle for different reasons. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. That's a really, really great words that came into the chat already. So if a brand is a customer's gut feeling about a company, a product, or a service, how do businesses go about developing that feeling? They do this by creating experiences that are positive, consistent, and recognizable. If you can think of those three things as being what you aim for in your business to create a feeling around your brand, you're going to be doing more than most people who own and run their own business are. So when you're creating your brand, you're considering all of the customer interactions, and you're trying to design those to be the best that they can be. So sometimes when we think about brand, we're thinking about the visual elements of it. So it might be things like your logo or your company uniform or your signage or your packaging. And yes, it does include all of those things, but more importantly, it's everything that that customer experiences. And how do they experience things? Well, there's two main ways here. So there's the physical experiences that they have with your brand, and then there are the digital experiences. Obviously, we're going to dig a little more into the digital as we get going. So the physical experiences might be things like in the shop. It's things like customer service when they walk in. It might be outside the shop if you had a premises. I know everybody doesn't, but they're seeing the signage. It's when they're walking past. It could even be things like when they see the staff out on the street or bump into the owner outside of the business experience. That's also a physical experience of the brand. It's things like eating the food, unboxing the product, seeing the product arrive in the mail. It can be things like wearing the clothing, even things like washing the clothing. For example, if you are pulling your Nike shirt out of the dryer along with your warehouse t-shirt, you're noticing that your Nike t-shirt has got a nicer quality than the warehouse one, and that is reinforcing the quality of that brand every time you interact with it physically. Then the second one is digital experiences. So these are things like seeing your ads online, visiting the website, when they're emailing the company. It can be things like receiving messages, reading the reviews that you see online. It can be things like seeing their content pop up in your feed on a regular basis, or the experience that you have when you're shopping with that brand online. So as you can see, there's a big range of interactions that your customers have with you that form the feeling of the brand in their mind. And I think one of the really powerful things about being a small business is that right from the very beginning, you have a lot of control over the way that people experience you. when you're a bigger brand like a McDonald's or a warehouse, you've got lots of different interactions happening all over the country, and the brand is spread through all of the different people. And this is why companies really work hard on things like training their teams to do good customer experience, because the warehouse has to manage its brand through a large amount of physical and digital experiences. But at this stage, you guys are fairly new, or the majority of you are. And so you can think about probably almost every instance of when that person has had an interaction with your brand. So I'm going to illustrate for you some of the ways in which you can do this well or do it badly and the effects that it might have. So, for example, some positive physical experiences. So a positive physical experience might be that the package arrives on time and it's undamaged, and that person opens it and they feel like it's been really well presented. A negative experience might be the customer arrives at the shop and they find the space is untidy or the staff are unhelpful. A positive digital experience might be somebody searching for the business and easily finds that information. Maybe it's that they Googled it and they saw the opening hours and they can find the phone number really quickly. That's a really positive digital experience, and one that's really easy for you to set up as well. A negative digital experience might be customer clicking on an ad that you've put up and finding that the page is broken, or finding that the product that they wanted is unavailable, and that creates frustration. So already you're seeing the ways in which you as a small business owner have some control over the way that your brand is being perceived by other people. So a consistent physical experience might be something like, if you're running a landscape business and you arrive on time and in uniform and you deliver really good service every single time you show up, and then an inconsistent physical experience might be, for example, this time you turned up looking great, but the next time you sent one of your staff members and he looked messy, like he'd just woken up from a hard night and wasn't properly dressed in uniform. So that if that person experiences a good thing the first time and a bad thing the second time, that's really going to make a big difference to how your brand is perceived. A consistent digital experience. So for example, if the customer goes onto your page and likes to order a product and then they want to reorder that product, the next time they come to your website, they're going to go to order it and they find that it's there and the process was the same. That starts to slowly build trust with people over time. And then an inconsistent digital experience might be something like a business posting regularly for a short period of time. Maybe they're posting every week and you're seeing that information come through in your feed, and then their posting just completely disappears, and maybe 3 months later you go back and you see they posted for a month really well and then they disappeared off the face of the planet Earth. And that kind of thing can give people a little bit of a negative experience or a feeling that this business isn't really building trust. And then finally, a recognizable physical experience might be something like seeing the customer going to the website and seeing that that's what the brand looks like, and then they turn up to the shop and they see that the people are in the same uniform with the same colors, and then they see that branding on the van, and eventually over time that strengthens their understanding of what the business looks like. So it's recognizable across all the things. And an unrecognizable digital physical experience might be something like the signage and the uniforms are completely different to each other. It could be things like, you turn up and see that the signage looks like this, but the sign out the front doesn't look the same. There's just a little bit of a disorganized feel about it. And then a recognizable digital experience is the same. So it's like the same logo, the same tone, the same colors appear across the board. And then an unrecognizable digital experience might be something like the Facebook page has got a completely different logo to the website, which has got a completely different logo to the Instagram, or people are in uniform on one page and they're not on the next. So yeah, this is a way that you can have a think about the impact that you're having on your customers with the way that your brand shows up. And I'll send this through after our after our session today, which is just a brand experience check. And you can actually do this whether or not you're trading already. And one of the things that will help you do is to just identify the risks that there are. For example, if you know that in the shop that you're operating, you've got somebody who really struggles to turn up on time and in uniform, you can identify that as being a risk in your business, and you can make sure that you speak to that person or make the changes that you need to make to ensure that things are positive across the board. It can help you see your business through your customers' eyes. And yeah, just highlight the changes. Sometimes there's small changes and things that you can do. For example, you might notice that you've got a great website, but if somebody Googles your business, you're not on Google My Business yet. So that's something that you can really quickly do to make a big difference. So I'll just check the chat and see whether there are any questions. No questions at the moment. So let's move on to the next piece. So the brand, just to reiterate, is a customer's gut feeling about your company, product, or service, and you can develop that feeling by creating experiences that are positive and that are consistent and that are recognizable. And like I mentioned, if you're a small brand, you don't have heaps of different interactions with your customers or too many platforms online. So it can be really easy to focus on making sure that that happens. So next question, what is marketing? I think that marketing can be incredibly overwhelming when you're at the early stage of running your business, just because there is so much information about marketing. And marketing is a really big field, so people can get a bit lost in it. And most people are trying to educate themselves, and they're trying to do that online, which I think is fantastic. I've worked with marketing agencies before, and a lot of the people who are running agencies or in senior positions in agencies also don't have a formal education in marketing. They have learned their marketing through just doing it and being curious and staying ahead of trends. So I think it's awesome. If you are educating yourself, that's really good. A simple explanation for what marketing is, it's the set of actions that your business takes to help the right people notice, understand, trust, and buy what you're offering. And obviously, I'm a big fan of Marty Neumeier. I think I like the way he describes it as well. So marketing is what you do. Branding is who you are. There's heaps and heaps of different actions that you can take to market your business. And often there's heaps more of them than people have thought about at the very beginning. So if you think of marketing as being the set of actions that you take, these 8 key tactics, this is the way that we like to arrange it at Startline. It can be organised differently by other people, but basically we break it down into 8 key areas of things that you can cover in your business. We're not going to get too deep into this now because it's a little bit high level, but basically the owned channels, so those are things like that you control. They're things like your website, your newsletter, your social media. Events and experiences can be really cool ways to market your business. Maybe it's turning up to a market or going to an event. For example, if you're a fitness coach, maybe there's a big event happening in Auckland for coaches, and tuning up to that might be a great way to do your marketing. Strategic partnerships, we're seeing heaps of that in the influencer space now. So there are lots of influencers who have huge following, and if you can partner with those people, that's considered to be like a strategic partnership. So you say to them, we're going to give you some of our product and you'll make some posts about it. That's really an effective marketing strategy. It might also be things like partnering with other businesses to create offers. Your PR and your media, that's basically where you show up in newspapers or in any of the media outlets, and people can organise that in their own businesses to show up online as well. Direct relationship marketing, traditional advertising, which is things like billboards and posters and advertisements in the newspaper. And then I wish I could see that last one, but my face is in the way. Let me just see if I can move it. What does that last one say? Word of mouth, which is the most important probably for early stage businesses, because obviously your fans, your family and your friends are often the first ones who will really help you spread the word about your business out there. Now, digital marketing sits across all of this. It's got its fingers, if you will, in every different area. Back in the days when I was really early in the marketing space, digital marketing used to be its own channel, and people thought about it as being a separate thing that you did to all of the other types of marketing that you might do. It's no longer like that. Digital marketing is a part of everything. So it covers things like your website, your Google business profile, email newsletters, online stores. I'm not going to read all of these things out, obviously, it would be boring. But it's things like your paid social ads, it's things like social media promotion, it's podcasting or creating YouTube videos. So anything that you're doing online to promote your business is considered to be digital marketing. Oh, I'll just click through those ticks. We've covered them off. And so if you're just starting your business, like lots of you will be, that space can feel overwhelming. And I hope that's been a good kind of high level overview of what marketing is, what brand is. But the question I think everybody wants to answer here is, I've just started my business. So what are the first things that I should do when I start marketing my business? Some people would say to start posting, but I'm going to give you some different advice here. At Startline, we recommend that people first understand what it is that their offer is, their customer, and where their customer shows up. So, for example, number one there, I'll just skip through to my notes. So understanding your customer, that's the most important thing. If you think about your marketing efforts as being you're on a boat in the middle of the ocean and the ocean is as wide as the Pacific, you have a particular amount of time and you've got a budget. So that's your net that you're throwing out into that ocean. If you don't know who you're talking to, you're going to throw a small net into a huge ocean, and you're just going to hope that you catch the particular type of fish you're looking for under that net. Understanding your customer is about really digging into who they are and how you might find them. So know who they are, what matters to them. And then you've got to, number two here is understanding how your product or your service solves a problem that they need. That's something that I think many small businesses get confused about. You have a particular offer, and there is going to be a particular type of person that needs that. And so if you really understand properly what need it is that you're solving with that person, you're going to be better able to find them. So that's be clear with yourself about why somebody would choose what you offer. You need to understand that as the business owner. The third thing is you need to know where your customer is going to show up. So that could be physically or it could be online. So for example, if you are providing a fitness service for mamas, you know that they're going to be maybe they're between the ages of 20 and 35. you know they're most likely going to be on TikTok and on Instagram. So you might focus most of your attention on TikTok and Instagram rather than showing up on Facebook or rather than showing up on LinkedIn. It takes quite a lot of time and energy and effort to set up your marketing. So you want to make sure that you're showing up in the places that you want to be. And then on section 4 and 5 here, we're going to look at writing your brand story, starting to plan, produce, and post as we get through the presentation. But these are the three biggest things here. Understand your customer, understand how your product or service solves their problem, and know where your customer shows up. Before we get into this, I just want to see whether there are any questions or if there's anything anyone has to ask. We're going to have a look at a particular business example. Just pop it in the chat if you've got any questions, or feel free to unmute yourself. Nobody. I also just come back in to see everybody's faces because while I'm presenting, I can't see people's faces. So it's just nice to be able to see you there. Okay, awesome. Let's move into the next part. So we're going to have a look at a business called Move with Maya. So Move with Maya is a Māngere-based fitness coach who's starting her business from home. I actually think there might be somebody similar in the room here, just based on the comments. So Maya will be doing it from home, part-time, from her home gym, and she also can go out to other people's places. Her service is for women who want to be comfortable. Maybe they've just had a baby, maybe they've got some young kids at home, but they're not really feeling super comfortable to go to a gym yet, so she wants to create a comfortable way for them to do that. And her service is going to be based on moving around and offering things from her home. So in understanding her customer, she knows that her customers are going to be women in Māngere. They're going to be aged 20 to 35 years old. They're going to often be balancing their work, their family, and their daily responsibilities. They're going to want to be improving their fitness, but they need something realistic. And they need a supportive environment as well. The things you can think about when you're thinking about who your customer is are things like their demographics. And their demographics are just the facts about who they are. So you want to know what their age is, what their gender is, what their income bracket might be, things like where their location is. And the reason that that's important is that once you start putting ads up on your Facebook page, you can start to target those groups. So for example, if you're using Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, you can go into the back end of your, I think it's called Facebook for Business now, you go in the back end and you can target those groups. You can say, I'm going to spend $20 on ads today, but I want to send it to only women between the ages of 20 and 35 who live in this area. And most of the social media platforms will let you do targeting like that. So instead of just boosting your post, like a lot of people will be doing that's just popping 20, 50, $100 on your post and boosting it, and it just goes out to whoever. You can actually, in the back end of your socials and on your websites as well, target the people that you want to target. So understanding your customer is the first one. Understanding how your product or service solves their problem and their need. This is really important because it helps you to target the messaging that you're going to put in front of your people. So for Maya, she knows that fitness sessions happen close to home. That's what her women want. They want small classes because they're less intimidating. They want personal support that helps them stay accountable, and they really want flexible sessions that are going to fit around her schedule. So she knows that that's what their problem is. And then finally, like we've said, know where your customers show up. So she knows that her customers might show up on Facebook community groups. For example, maybe on Facebook fitness groups. There might be lots of different examples of this. One of them is, for example, I like to do salsa. I signed up to a whole bunch of different community dance pages in my area. And so if I were the business who was trying to promote my salsa classes, I would definitely want to be looking at promoting them on the local community groups. So they're also on Instagram. They're looking at school and family networks, and then they're also talking to other women. So there we go. Those are the 3 things that we need to understand about Maya's business, which she knows her customer, she knows how her service solves their need, and she knows where they're going to show up. So our next step is to write our brand story. Just wanted to touch on the power of stories a little bit for early stage business. A lot of the larger sort of corporate companies who've grown their businesses and have an impressive marketing budget, they still spend a lot of money on story marketing. The cool thing about story marketing for you guys is that it's almost free to do. It just takes time, creativity, and sometimes a little bit of resources. You can create lots of stories just using your phone. You don't need any fancy equipment. There's plenty of online services that you can use to edit your videos. Like, I'm sure lots of you are using things like CapCut or Wondershare. And now with AI, there are lots of ways that you can create marketing images for your products. So story marketing is actually something you can do relatively cheaply. It's also backed by research. So there's a lot of research out there that shows, and this is the reason that people are doing it, that when you can make your brand appear human and connect with people on a storytelling level, they're much more likely to trust you. So how do you write a great brand story? Great brand storytelling starts with understanding your audience. So we're going to know who they are, understand what they want, where they're trying to get to, and what they hope they're going to change. Identify the real problems that they face and what gets in the way, and then understanding how those problems make them feel and why they matter so much. And that is charting their path. So what you want to do with your brand storytelling is map a pathway from where they are now to where they want to be. So for example, with Maya's Fitness, where they are now might be a little frustrated, they're carrying too much weight, they want to get back to the body that they had before, and Maya's going to position her business as the way that they will get to where they want to be. One thing that's important to note is that brand storytelling is not the same as your owner story. So for example, a lot of people have on their website, they'll have an About Us page, which is about who they are as a founder and what their own story is. That is still important, and I think it builds trust, but that's not what a brand story is. So a brand story is not about who you are as a person or the reason why you started your business. Your brand story is really about your customers and where and what they want, and how your business is going to help them get from where they are now to where they want to be. And that could be a really simple thing, like, for example, they want to be looking more stylish and have a more Pacific feel about their fashion. Or it could be something a little more complex, like they have got some issues with their health and fitness, and you're going to help them through a pathway to where they want to be. So yeah, the brand story is about your customer. It's not really about you. This is an example of a company who did a brand story that got a lot of negative press online. And it was because instead of making the story about themselves, about their customer, the brand owner decided to make the story about himself and how amazing he was. So I'm just going to play this to you quickly. Can I just check? Can somebody put a hand up if they've heard if they heard the audio there. Did that audio come through? Yep. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
The best ideas come from solving common problems. My problem, like a lot of other men, I couldn't find a shirt that looked good untucked. So this became my passion, to design a shirt that captures the perfect balance between length and fit. Easy to say, not that easy to do. But with some innovative design changes, we did it. Our problem, my solution. Untuckit.com.
So after they posted that, he got some really interesting comments, like he's so brave to come forward with his story. If finding the perfect untucked t-shirt is your passion, then you need to get out more. He got pretty burned online after producing that. And that's really because customers know when a brand, when an owner is talking about themselves and not focused on the problem that their customers really want to have solved. But there are better ways to do it. So you can include yourself in your brand story. But when the spotlight is on how they achieve their goals, that's the right way to do it. So I'll play you this one, which is, I think, a really beautiful short piece. I may not play the whole video.
I love it when someone gets off of the treatment table and they're looking in the mirror and they just admire themselves, you know, looking at themselves differently than they probably ever have before. My job is to get to know your skin and become its best friend, you know? I'm your skin's best friend. My name is Alish Pierce, and I am the owner of Ask Alish Skincare Studio. I'm also the founder of Alish Skincare. I wound up in skincare because I was a celebrity makeup artist. I wanted to get to the root cause of their skin issues so that we didn't have to keep backling on makeup every day. I'm here to help people create their own unique definition of beauty. I like to say that I offer bespoke facials that are customized to meet your skin's needs. Everything from really holistic, calming, hydrating facials to chemical peels and lasers. The services are either 60 minutes or 90 minutes, and then within that time frame, we just do as much as we can. Whatever your skin needs, I try to get it in there. I think this.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there, but that's a really wonderful example of a well-told brand story. She really understands what her customer's problem is, and in that brand story, she's trying to put as much value about how it is that she's going to provide to them what they need. And even though she has talked about herself, she's talking about herself from the perspective of how she likes to help her customers get to where they want to go. So that's a good example of it. So the process of knowing their world, walking in their shoes, spotting their struggles and tapping into their emotions, that's a great way to structure your brand story. Lotto did it in this ad, and I think that this is also a really good example of good brand storytelling. I'll play this one.
Bert, where's my house?
Ask your wife. She just took it.
Hey, Carol.
Yeah.
You've reached Carol? I'm not here right now.
What are you doing there? I never want to leave this place.
I'll come visit you then.
Come visit you. Carol?
You could never part with the house, and I love the sea. Win-win.
No.
Yes.
No.
So I think that's a really great example of good brand storytelling, because it takes the struggle of people and it maps Lotto as being the pathway toward what they really want in their lives. What it doesn't do is it doesn't tell you how to buy a Lotto ticket, but because Lotto is such a large company with a big presence, we all kind of know that already. One thing I also wanted to point out here is even though you can create really cool brand stories, beautiful like that, well presented, I imagine they would have spent thousands on this ad, both from the perspective of the storytelling people who created it right through to production, post-production. This would have been a pretty big ticket item. It is a little bit of a risk when you're a small business to put all of your eggs into telling one really beautiful story, mostly because small businesses don't really have the budgets that a company like Lotto has, and they don't have access to the filmmakers or the storytellers. So I think there are lots of ways that you can create stories that are as powerful as this one, but you can do it on your own budget. You can do it in lots of different ways. So when the business is big like this, it already has a really big presence in the marketplace. And so people know how to do the thing. When you're a small business, you're often asking people to do the call to action, or the CTA that they'll call it. You're often asking people to take a particular step to do a particular thing. So what you don't want to do is spend all of your budget on making one beautiful video that might cost you heaps of money. You're more looking to try and tell your story again and again in budget-friendly ways and just keep showing up online. So here's an example of a business who I think does it really, really well on a budget. So some of you might know her, My More Creative. Her company sells small art pieces, prints. I think she started off as a calligrapher. But the reason that I think her marketing is so effective is because she does follow this process. So she knows who her audience is and who she's talking to. She's walked in their shoes. So her audience are people who are trying to learn Te Reo Māori, reconnect with their culture, go on that process of reclaiming their language. And she is the person who's going through this process as well. So she can really speak to that really well. She understands what the struggles are, and she can really tap into their emotions. Now, what she's asking of people through her social media is that they click through to her website and buy a product. You know, it might be the earrings that she's created. She's got lots of kind of small creative products, but she does it in a really creative way. So I'm just going to share a few of her pieces of content that I think, you know, you guys can do really similar things to this. It's just cheap storytelling. So that, I don't know if you can read that, but it says you're still learning Te Reo Māori and trying to keep up with fluent speakers.
Hey, I think you stepped in dog poop.
Oh, thank you. I just bought it.
What? No.
Yeah,
no,
just
you're.
bought it.
And then learning a pre-porphyry speech.
It's going to be rough. It's going to feel like it's going on for a long time, so it's going to be hard to stay alert. It's going to be even harder to be quiet, but you have to do both. You have to do every single thing I say, or we will not.
So, yeah, she really gets what it's like. Sorry, it's not preparing for a porphyry speech. She's preparing your children for being on the pai there, and how serious it is. And then the last one I think is just really beautiful. This is her daughter and they've got these stickers that provide the moko. And
Kore te moto pāti huri tau. Ai. Haina. Te au whakaro.
So I think that is just a really beautiful example of how to tell stories that really resonate with your audience. The products that she produced might not be super connected to this, but she really knows her audience. She can speak to them really directly, and because she understands them so well, her storytelling is really powerful. It's not expensive either. These are just things that you can do again and again in your home. So another example of, I think, really good brand storytelling is where you can just put the camera in front of you and you can chart the path for the people that you're trying to reach. So I think Courtney Haynes, she is a personal brand advisor. She knows her customers really well. She knows what their struggles are and she can speak to them directly in a really cheap way by just putting the camera in front of her. So I'm just going to quickly play you this one.
Okay, I just wrote a LinkedIn post on one of the biggest excuses that people give me for not starting a personal brand strategy, and so I thought I'd pop on here and share my thoughts on it too. And the excuse is, I don't like talking about myself. I don't want to start a personal brand because I don't like talking about myself. This is one of the biggest misconceptions with personal branding, is that it's all just me, talking about me and what I like and my thoughts and my opinion. Nope. You are the messenger. You are not the message. You are there to create a space, something intriguing, something to connect with so that you can share a message that is about your audience. So if your excuse is, I don't like talking about myself, I'm not comfortable talking about myself, so I don't want a personal brand, stop it. You don't have to talk about yourself all the time. You will have to talk about yourself a little bit, but you don't have to talk about yourself all the time. Your personal brand is about creating a space where you can share and educate and engage.
So she knows exactly who she's talking to. She's walking in their shoes because she's saying, I understand exactly what you're feeling right now. And then she's tapping into their emotions and she's charting their path. So if you were to go back and look over all of her content, you're just going to see lots and lots of helpful content on how to develop your own personal brand. And the power of that is that eventually over time, people are going to want to work with her. And she gets a lot of clients because her social media presence is really strong. So let's look at Move with Maya as a brand story. So you guys can think about the way in which you also might write your own brand story using this methodology. So firstly, know their world. Life is full. Between work, family, and everything else that needs attention, it can be hard to find space to focus on yourself. Walk in their shoes. You want to feel stronger, have more energy, feel good in your body, but it needs to fit into real life and not add more pressure. Spot their struggles. For many women, gyms can feel intimidating, hard to get to, or simply not practical. Sometimes the hardest part is knowing where to begin. Tap into their emotions. That can leave you feeling frustrated, stuck, or like your own well-being keeps slipping down. Finally, you're charting their path. Move with Maya brings fitness into familiar spaces with practical support that helps you build strength, confidence, in one habit at a time. So that in itself could almost be the copy for the video that she would create, but it's also a really powerful story just in itself. She's starting with where her customers are now, and she's trying to move them to where they want to be. Just going to the next page. And the cool thing about writing a really good brand story is that you can create lots of pieces of content out of that same story. So for example, she could follow some women through their fitness journey and share their progress. She could share simple client wins. She could talk with women about the common struggles that they have. She could show her, take videos of her classes. But what she's doing is she's consistently telling that story again and again over time. This is where you are. This is where I can take you. So writing one story like that is a really good foundational piece, and it's the reason that I recommend that you do it, because if that sits underneath your marketing planning, you can just keep creating bits of content based off that story. So one of the questions that was asked the last time I presented this was, does my content always have to be related to my brand story? And the answer to that is no. people's attention online is very difficult to get. And if you're showing up and telling kind of deep and meaningful stories all the time, your content might become boring. So I think the answer to that is no. And you're absolutely, you know, you can jump on funny content, on trends. If it fits your brand, you could also, you know, share personal content. And I know a lot of brands that share political content because their brand is aligned with a particular political view. So there's no reason why you can't vary up your content. But what I think is the most important thing is that your audience needs to understand why you're there, and they need to understand what you're trying to get them to do. So if you're making funny content all the time, but your audience have no idea about what it is that you're actually selling and they're not buying it, then that's not effective marketing. Whereas if you're creating really cool brand story content and you're peppering it up with funny content and trends, that's a really good way to keep your audience engaged while still ensuring that they know what you want them to do, which is to buy from you to make more money. So just a quick note on planning content. I'm aware we're just a little over 11 o'clock, but we're almost at the end there. So when you're planning your content, I think these 4 things are important to remember. Create the content that's going to engage your audience. So write content, put it on the platform where your audience spends time. So for example, if you're doing a really funny piece of content, short form video, and you're posting it up on LinkedIn instead of your TikTok, that's not the right way. That's not the right platform. You have to think about the type of content you're creating for the right platform. The right content. So how do you adapt your content to each platform? So you might create one really cool story piece that's designed to go on your YouTube and it's a 5-minute video, but you might want to repurpose it in 6 different ways for your other platforms. So maybe you create a really cool video and then you edit it down really small for your reels, or you edit it to a couple of minutes for your LinkedIn, or 60 seconds for your LinkedIn, or whatever it is. So, you know, good content can be repurposed in lots of different ways, and then know what your goals are with it. What are you trying to achieve? So at the end of that video, if you're wanting people to go click through and buy something from your website, make sure that they know how to do that. Make sure that there's a clear pathway for them to do that. Because at the end of the day, you're not creating content for fun. You're creating content so that you can make sales in your business. So there we go. These are the 5 things that I think I would do if I were an early stage business starting again. So firstly, understanding your customer, understand how your product or your service meets their need, know where they show up so that you know where you're going to be posting. Write your brand story and then use that brand story to tell lots of other stories in a way that fits your budget. So start planning, producing and posting the content. I think the other piece of advice I'd leave you with is not to expect success overnight, and stay consistent. If you've got a small budget, your marketing growth is likely to follow a slow growth curve because you don't have $100,000 to put into your first promotion. You're not going to see a big spike. But consistency over time is what really builds trust with customers. So for example, if I'm going and looking at a pair of earrings that I really love from a small creator, and I'm not sure whether or not I can trust them, if I go back to their Facebook page and I can see that they've been posting every day for, or, 3 times a week is probably, or maybe once or twice a week for the last 2 years, that really builds trust with me. So being consistent, even when you don't feel like it's working, because a lot of the time you're posting and you're not seeing as much response. But yeah, know that that consistency over time is building trust with your customers. And then I think the last thing is that it really does take bravery to show up in a new space and share your story. Storytelling marketing isn't like putting out a little ad, with a static ad. It's often things like your face is in front of the camera and you're showing up for your brand. And it really does take bravery to do that. So I think if you put your planning in place, that can give you some really good confidence to know that you're going in the right direction. So find the courage that you need to start showing up online and just get started doing it. That would be my final piece of advice for you. And then lastly, just a quick bit of information about myself and how to get in touch with me. So Startline is startline.co.nz. If you have any questions that haven't been answered in this presentation, then please feel free to just flip me an email. We also do modelling, strategy, planning, marketing plans and strategy plans. So when you're a little bit further along and you're starting to trade, then you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you. So shall we open up the floor for questions? Oh, it's so nice to be here. I'll stop that sharing. Stop sharing. There we go. Okay. Hey guys. Oh, it's so nice to see faces. Thank you, Penny. Much. Thank you, Cynthia. That's great. Yeah, don't be shy. No, there are no silly questions, even if it's a real technical question or a big picture question, then please let me know. I'm in the funding round. Can I add digital marketing? That might be a generated question.
Yeah. Can I just clarify a couple of things? At the beginning, we don't encourage people to get a website because not everybody needs a website. We encourage people to start with Facebook and to get practiced at just doing the low cost, no cost. We start with no cost, the no cost marketing. So you think about your brand when you listen to what Nanise said, you'll see that was actually our Shaping the Dream. We have those concepts around that. Who are your clients? So we encourage you and we show you in the first lot of success steps how to use Facebook. We've also added in another one about putting your business on Google search, so that if people are looking for a hairdresser in Invercargill, your name will come up and we'll show you how to do that.
Awesome.
And we also encourage people not to get a shop, because we found a whole lot of people got themselves into a whole lot of financial difficulties because they sign up or are encouraged to do leases for up to 2 years, or even shops themselves. We try and encourage you to stay working from home because it's what you have control over, particularly now that we've got the crisis with petrol. People aren't going to be going out, and it will require you perhaps to go out. So try not to have a shop, and we don't fund people to get leases. We try and encourage you to try out your business with no cost, and really nail those, because those form the platform. So if you want to get a website, you have to be driving people to your website, and that's through your social media. So that's why we start there. And just the last one is that I'm pretty sure that you can actually target your social media, and we can show you how to do that, like who your audience is, and you don't have to pay for that either. So it's all free. Start with the free. Nail that, because that provides the platform for you to be able to afford to do other things. And we can refer you to Lewis, who really looks at your business and decides, do you need a website even? Some people don't. They just don't need a website for their business to begin with. Start with what's free.
I agree with that, Teresa. It's great advice. And I think, once you're building some regular income, then you can do things like pay for a website, because a website does cost, generally it will cost you around $50 a month for hosting, thereabouts. And so you really do need to have a regular income coming in, somewhat, at least a little bit of trade money coming into the business before you can afford to keep it up. So, great. Thank you. So also, can we all follow each other on IG so we can build some followers? Oh, that might be something that people can reach out and connect with each other afterward. Then there's another question here. My mentor is telling me to share other pages online to increase reach. Can you advise how I do that? Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that it depends on, the answer probably is it depends on the platform. Was it Facebook that you were thinking about that person? Definitely increasing your engagement with other people's posts as a way to boost your own engagement. I think I would be a little bit careful about just sharing random posts from people. I think if you can do that in a thoughtful way. So, for example, it might be somebody that you worked with in this capacity, then you do a post about that and then you share and you tag them. That's another way that you can do it. I think maybe the main thing to remember is that when people come back and see your Facebook page, they're wanting to get an understanding of what it is that you do in your business. And if they see a whole bunch of kind of random shares, that could confuse. So yeah, I think sharing is definitely good, but just think about the way that you decide to do that. And the way that I might do that is by telling a little story about why I'm sharing this, tagging that business in, or doing shared posts with that person. Is TikTok safe? Oh, yeah, that's a good question too. I think maybe that question is being asked because of the security concerns that TikTok has raised in the past. I would say answer that question from two different perspectives. One is whether or not your data is safe on TikTok. And that, I think, is a question that is maybe a little over my head. I know that there are some concerns, but what I can say is that TikTok is an excellent marketing avenue, especially if you are marketing to people who are under the age of 30, because they are primarily there on TikTok. So it's an excellent way to reach your audience at a low cost. Another question there. Who would you suggest to follow on your business Insta? Other businesses, they're building their IG. Yeah. I think in that case, I would be interacting with, yeah, I don't think it matters so much who you are actually following. And you may want to follow, because people can see who you're following, you may not want to follow people who are exactly like your business. You're more trying to build your business following. Actually, that might be something that I will come back to you on, because there might be some more specific advice there than I can give you there. Another question is, let me see. You talked about strategic partnerships. Is there any other hairdressers on beauty here? Happy to follow and engage. Oh yeah, absolutely. So she's Penny B Portfolio on IG and Instagram. Yeah, for sure. That's great. People could reach out to you. Feel free to pop your Instagram handle in the chat if you'd like other people to have it there. We can also do service swaps to align with low cost for those wanting to collaborate, like signage. This is great. Yeah. I think collaborating with other businesses, especially if they're in close vicinity to you or they have complementary services. I know that recently in the Waikato we had two food businesses that collaborated with each other at a pop-up shop, where we had one of them who was providing savory food, and then the other business that was doing sweets, and they decided to come together and do a promotion together at the pop-up shop, and then after that they continued to trade out of the same space. So any kind of collaboration that you can do with each other, start having the conversations. I think it's really a powerful way to do marketing. You can also do on Instagram now shared posts. I mean, that's been around for a wee while now, but you can post on behalf of more than one business. So for example, that's something that you could do if you had you could have a hairdressing offer, and then maybe there's another beauty offer that's complementary to your own, and you can share it together at the same time. Okay, so is it ideal to start off with one thing, for example, baked goods, and then add to the menu like hot foods and beverages, or start off all at once? That's a great question. I would say it depends on your goals and your budget. So, as an example, if you were aiming to start a cafe and you were looking to open up a new premises and you wanted to have the types of things that people expect to have in a cafe, then you would obviously have to start with a bigger range. If you're starting from home and you are just selling online, I would start with a smaller group of things to test them first. That's about trying to create product market fit. And after you've got that and you've got some sales happening, you can start to add to these things afterwards. And so, like Therese said, it's a really great time when you're working from home to do a bit of experimenting online and see what sells. I had a client recently who wanted to start her own business where she would take on a lease right from the start, and we decided to change that plan and pull it right back and just get her offering some of her products at things like marketplaces, also selling online, selling at different events, just to see whether there was an appetite for what she was producing in the marketplace. Because especially if you're spending a lot of money to get started, there is a fair bit of risk. So it's really good to know whether or not people actually want those products. And that also can give you a good way to test how you produce them. So you might, play around with your packaging or play around with your marketing a little bit just to see what works with people before you start to add things. And then I would also say when it comes to food, be mindful that people have so many options that your messaging has to be really clear. So if it's not clear to people what you do really well, they are maybe just going to look straight past you. So yeah, I would say if desserts or sweet things are your thing, then start there. And then once you've built that line, add to that. Yep. Okay. I think that might be all of our questions. Just looking, I hope that I've answered all of them there. And yes, also I'm really open to people sending me questions via email. I'd be really happy to answer those questions. Often it's difficult to give generic answers to people because the answers can be really specific to what they're trying to do. So yeah, I'm very happy to just have people reach out to me and I'll answer those questions that way. But that brings us to 11:20. So I think that we can start to wrap up. Thank you so much for having me. It was really awesome to be able to meet everybody today. I really appreciate being able to hang out with the Generator team who do an incredible job of helping people to start their businesses. And I look forward to maybe hearing from some of you online. Mihi nui.
Just on behalf of the Generator team and all the Generites online, we just want to thank you for the valuable information, insights from your specialized marketing field. And I hope that our Generites can take a couple of ideas out of that and put it into action, because it's important. Action makes a difference. And I hope they can touch base with you for any other questions. So malo apito, talofa te lava to you, and safe journeys. Thank you. Malo.
Malo lava.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, team.
Thank you for joining.
Have a good day. Take care.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nanise.
Nanise.
Yeah.